Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Capturing the Games, the Game Within the Game podcast, featuring me, your host, Desmond Jones. And today we got an absolute trailblazer on the podcast today. She is the Senior Vice President of Communications and Community Diversity at the Portland Trailblazers. Her name is Ashley Clinkscale. Ashley, how are you doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me, Desmond. I'm excited to be here.
No, thank you so much for just taking time out your day to meet with little old me out here in Indiana.
Hey, no, look, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina. So from a Southern girl to a guy in Indiana, I'm happy to be here.
Okay. I appreciate that. But yeah, Ashley, man, can you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, as I shared, born and raised in Greenville, South Carolina, attended Clark Atlanta University for undergrad because of their amazing mass communications program. CAU really nurtured and developed my curiosity for the field of communications. My degree is in mass media arts with a concentration in public relations. Started out in the agency side of communications. So worked in the agency space for a couple of years in Atlanta and Dallas, Texas. Turner Sports became one of my clients. Went and worked for PGA of America in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, where I led their growth of the game initiative. So growing the game of golf amongst women, amongst people of color, amongst kids. Then moved on back to agency, which was my comfort zone at the time. Wrote most recently Oklahoma City Thunder, where I was their director of corporate communications, and led a number of their initiatives of everything off the court. So everything from community initiatives with the Thunder, any corporate business announcements, jersey patch deals, and love the Thunder. Really enjoyed my time there, and was poached by the Portland Trailblazers. And as a woman and a woman of color, this was one of those opportunities that you don't turn down. And so I've been here, moved during the pandemic. My husband and I moved to Portland from Oklahoma City. I've been here a year and 6 months now, and I lead our corporate communications is my initial role when I started. And within 5 months, I took over our community and our diversity, equity, and inclusion department. So leading our community programs and initiatives, our Trailblazer Foundation, and then through our DEI, we had a solid 3-year strategic plan and a team that was here prior to me leading this work, and took it on, post Me Too, post summer of 2020, which was really a transition for DEI work. And so was really able to grow our team and our strategy and our awareness there. So you mentioned earlier, I've been in this space for 15 plus years, aging myself, but I love what I do. I'm passionate about the communications work, specifically as it relates to sports. And that's just developed and evolved to our community initiatives as well as DEI.
That's amazing. Definitely congrats on your 15-year career so far because, being a woman of color, just being in the Pacific industry for so long, you don't make it there by chance. You make it there by the work that you put in, some long nights, late hours, the
Absolutely.
networking, everything, But one of the first things I want to ask you about is what made you like decide to go down this career path? Like what made you, what part of this industry stood out to you and made you like, that's where I want to do, that's what I want to go down and pursue. I like what they're doing.
Yeah, I'll say I always attribute it to my high school teacher, Mr. Truman Humbert from Southside High School in Greenville, South Carolina. He introduced me to communications and mass media arts. And I come from a family that attended HBCU, so I knew the path of, I wanted to attend a HBCU as well. And he introduced me to the mass media arts program at Clark Atlanta. I knew I wanted to be behind the camera. I knew I enjoyed it, the storytelling component of it. So I had to, navigate and really filter where I wanted to land within this space. And what I would say is, embarking on this, communications can be in baking, it's in a number of industries. So that was something that was fascinating to me, that my role could evolve in any industry specifically. I started to get the sports bug when I was on the agency side. Zaxby's was one of my clients, so I worked on their NCAA college basketball tour, and then I worked on a number of college sports pieces, and then I've done some NFL work with the Falcons. I was in Atlanta and launched the MLS Atlanta United team there, so that's when I really started to get the sports bug heavy. I also worked with talent. So Kenny Smith and Clark Kellogg were some talents that I worked with. So really started to get the basketball bug in that space. And the Hawks became a client. And so really started to find the niche that maybe NBA, was my comfort space. And just, I love the work and the authenticity and intentionality of what the league was doing and it continues to do compared to other leagues. And I was able to bring my talent of what I learned at PGA. I worked in minor league baseball as well, which was a different area. So once I really kind of saw where I could grow and what I could bring from working in-house with a league, and I write things down and make a plan. I went back and found a journal that I shared with my husband after we got married, that it was maybe 2009, I put that I wanted to be director of communications for the Atlanta Hawks.
Wow.
So you talk about writing it out and making it plain, and found it years later. So yeah, that's kind of how I got from high school, and Mr. Humbert introducing me to it, and through my agency work and really getting a taste of golf, MLB, NFL, all the different sport that really allowed me to get to where I am today. And really just, there's always opportunity to grow.
That's definitely super true. Like, it doesn't matter how high you get or how safe you feel as though you are, there's still always opportunity to grow and also move on as well.
100%. And I tell the story of, like, when I started in communication, we were faxing press releases.
Not faxing.
Faxing press, like I was standing at a fax machine, Desmond, and that's how I was sitting press releases. So it's constantly evolving. So which is enticing to me, of just, social media.
Yeah.
Press conferences. I'll never forget, I was working for PGA of America, and it was really when Twitter started to kind of boom. Mm-hmm. And so we were trying to balance of how do we really get our stories out first before media would send the tweet out, making an announcement or putting scores or anything out. So just being able to grow with that and learn from others. I mean, now everything's on social.
Yeah.
And I'm a traditionalist. I want to put out my press release. I want that traditional piece. We have great podcasts and outlets, talents now, players are putting stuff on social media. So controlling things, it's changed. And so that has evolved me. And I'm always learning.
Yeah, that was one of the things I recently asked a question to someone, is like, how has so just social media, because a lot of people went from traditionally to printing out stuff to going to the newspaper for everything. Now you have Google University, where everything is just on the internet. How did people either adapt to that change, or just the climate of things, that the way that the way that media is consumed nowadays? Because like you mentioned, media is consumed on podcasts or on interviews, and nowadays players are starting to look at take down, pick up a microphone and host their own podcast with other former athletes and put it on YouTube. And that's just the way that the world is turning to right now.
Yeah, I mean, it shifted our industry, I'll say. We had to adapt and adjust and pivot in a number of ways, because we were used to being able to control the narrative and building those traditional relationships with media. And so as these additional mediums and platforms, whether it was influencers or, talent and our clients building their own relationships with media, and being able to manage expectations, because now there's so many platforms, how do we really manage and do our job effectively? So being strategic on how we were pitching and knowing the audiences, because to your point, the audiences are so broad now.
Yeah.
You think about social, you're reaching everyone, but then everybody. You also have your older traditional generation, which I always talk about my dad in this. My dad gets his newspaper, 77 years old. He's going to read his newspaper every day. Okay. And he's going to go find the Sunday newspaper. But you have to think about, with certain clients and certain brands, how are you engaging that audience? Because even think from sports, where are your season ticket holders? That's your older generation. So how are you engaging with them, but also the younger generation that is, on social, that's on. I remember I was at the Thunder and we had to it was literally a strategic conversation on creating a TikTok, and really getting in with our audience. And so that's something that's a pivot and change of we've gone from the day of press releases and what is our social plan and how are social and our marketing and branding and working with that talent and what they're doing, all becoming aligned.
Yeah, the minute that you said newspaper, I started laughing because I came my dad is 69 years old, and I can tell you how many times we used to go out. Usually, hey, dads, go out there to the driveway, get the newspaper, because you used to get the newspaper delivered on the driveway. And now newspaper is oh, that's just waste of paper.
And definitely don't want to try to teach them how to get it on their phone.
Lord.
So again, adapting and pivoting and know what you have to do.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing, is trying to teach the older generation how to use their technology.
For sure.
Oh man, what other types of challenges have you seen from when during right now, or just in general over the course of the 15 years that you've been in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, things have changed just drastically and beyond communications. I look at DEI, I will speak specifically to the Trailblazers. We had a very robust 3-year strategic plan that included 8 chapters across various disciplines and departments, including adoption of equity statements and filters, the company, and through our foundation. So our commitment really represented more than just compliance, which was really a first in some efforts. It was really our effort that included investing in training and dialogue and action with our own employees. And so my father, because I always tie back, to things of my dad used to do, I'll say the initial phase of DEI, which really was more so just supplier diversity. And so to see how those things have changed, and now even post 2020, where companies and brands are seeking and are becoming educated and knowledgeable about the work in the space and the importance of it, you see a lot of people clamoring to do this work. I think the community piece for me, there have been foundations, but really impacting these communities that we are part of in different markets really has allowed more just foundational work that may not have been in place previously for companies. So those are some things that I've just seen the trajectory of the industry change. And also, I'll not speak specifically to the NBA, our players are vocal. We are very, very, they're very, very vocal in the work that they do, and we support it. And so I, contribute our work to just being aligned and in partnership and authentic and intentional with our players and our organization and our ownership even. One of my first things when I sat down with Chris McGowan, our president and CEO, when we talked about the DEI work, I wanted to ensure as SVP that DEI had the pipeline to our president and CEO, as well as our ownership group, and just explain the importance of that. So really having a leader that supports and has a true understanding of this work are things you didn't see, 20 plus years ago when my dad was with the corporation, that the focus was, well, DEI is just maybe supplier diversity, and this is the approach there.
What is there any particular community or diversity initiative that gravitates to you that you're mostly passionate about?
Yeah, I think there were a number of initiatives, but the one that sticks out because it was in the heart of me joining the Trailblazers was when the NBA was in the bubble in Orlando.
Okay.
And the players, came together through the players union, and then we internally had work to do. So we launched a campaign, It Could Be Me. And we utilized, our staff. It wasn't player focused, it was our stance and our commitment as an organization to the work that we were going to do. And so I think that is one campaign that was near and dear to me. We launched our racial injustice initiative to really impact and empower local advocacy groups in the market, but also national organizations that were doing the work as well.
No, I feel as though you could never have too many people, working these initiatives just because of how much work that needs to be done in these areas. Where you're either talking about the racial issues, the injustice issues. It's just too many issues. Like
Sure, for sure.
And so it's always
you can't do everything, right? You can't address everything. And then there's a perception, well, you're this company, you're this brand, you have the money to do it. But it's so important. And one thing that I've implemented, even from our partnership perspective, they have to be doing the work as well. It's not let's tag on to these teams or these organizations. What are you doing within your four walls of your organization on your own DEI work, educating your employees and supporting the community. So that's also important.
That is a very important aspect. And I'm glad that you brought it up, because like you can't go, you have to have both pieces working together. You can't be this solo dolo. And like you said, you can't do everything. Yeah, definitely. So going back to your career a little bit, how has like being a woman of color affected your career?
Is that the trick question?
It's not a trick question. It's just, like I would like to just make sure we capture some of the stories, it just let people know that these things do happen. But
no, it's been hard.
Yeah,
it has been hard from the beginning, from working in the agency world, from working in sports, from working in golf, which was one of the most difficult for me, being told that I didn't belong, and there was no representation, for me. So for me to ascend to the top in the sports industry where I am, I don't take any of that for granted. I am a very head down, do my work. I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not looking to be, patted on the back. I'm committed to the work that I do, and I love what I do, but it has been a journey, not only as a woman. In sport, you see some of the racial, but the sexist disparities that we see with women on a daily basis. But there are a number of calls where I am the only woman or the only woman of color. And understanding that I have a seat at the table and I'm there and I belong there early in my career, there were moments where I questioned, did I belong in this space? Could I get to where I am now? And really knowing it. And I think a number of women just sometimes we question our worth. And, I've had a conversation with a colleague, and it's interesting of, when I start to question myself, even to this day, of it's, well, why not you? And I'll say it, a white man or a white woman wouldn't even hesitate, this approach with things. And so there are some things personally that we as women deal with every day. But, it has been a long and hard climb, to where I am. So I don't take, I'm grateful, to God every day for where I am. And I don't take it any moments for granted, but it has been a struggle as a woman of color, of being even taken seriously in moments, and having, really having to work. And we hear it all the time of, I think of the DEI work, having to carry, this is heavy. Black women in the DEI space, it is heavy because it is personal and it is a heavy load in general, and it was so important to me that communications is at my core. That is my love. That is the work that I do. And I have been blessed to grow and develop a number of other talents to lead DEI in community. But I didn't want to become also, well, you give the Black woman the DEI work. I managed that expectation.
That's always
I
my
managed
fear.
that expectation, which I talked about. I had a serious conversation and sat down with our leadership of, I'm passionate about the work, which is why I want to do it. And it was earned. It was not something that was just handed to me. So the fact that I had to give clarification there because somebody asked me, did it feel like tokenism? I said, like, why would that be your initial response? Why wouldn't it be, wow?
Yeah.
Taking on this and knowing that you've earned this in a short window of time speaks volumes to your work ethic and who you are. So, those are things, I still face.
Yeah. I get it too. I'm an engineer by trade. So there's not many, African Americans that are engineers.
Absolutely not.
And just know that for you, you don't really see too many people that are not only African American, but are women and that are African American in your field and career. So I always like to ask because, sometimes I get in my own head because I always question, oh, dang, should I be here?
Right.
And I always start devaluing myself.
Yeah.
Which in turn I need to, and I just get in my own head sometimes. So I always ask this because I want to see what other people have to do or in order to kind of make it through either their work day or just what kind of gives them their mental edge for just making it in this industry or just in their environment.
For sure. I mean, representation is so, so important. And one thing that takes it an extra layer of, why mentorship and just exposure is so important because, and I'll say specific to NBA, sometimes kids only see what's on the court. They don't see the analytics folks. They don't see the operations. They don't see the business side and the corporate partnership components. And so exposing these career opportunities where there are some folks, that may look like them, but it's the optics of what shows is shiny and dangling in some areas. And so I feel, my purpose in some areas is to really kind of expose these to kids of, hey, you can do this too.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anybody, there were very few and far between leading up to this point. Now you're seeing more women, but also you have to look even across all leagues in a C-suite role, it's still not what it should be.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I absolutely agree with you on that note. What's your advice for women or just people in general in this industry?
Do the work. I think it's that simple. Do the work. No one is going to give you a seat at the table.
Absolutely.
But when you get there, and there are going to be unique rules of how you stay there and maintain it. But do the work and find your own path. Be confident in who you are. Know that you are brought into these spaces to create and, control what you can.
Yeah.
And that's always my focus.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's been as recent as last night. I can control my effort. I can control my enthusiasm and my preparation. I can't control how things are perceived or anyone's antiquated ideas about whether women, more so Black women, belong in sports, specifically in the front office. There are things that I know I can't control. So that's my do the work and focus on what you can control. And I'll say, luckily, what the change is now is there are women navigating this industry who don't mind sharing what they've learned. And that's something that why, if there are podcasts and opportunities, I make sure, I make time because it's so important. You never know who's listening. And that's how people impact me and encourage me to get where I am. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for for joining on it and being part of
Yeah,
this, because it's as you know, that's one thing I'm glad that I do what I do, like, and I take time on my day just to capture these stories, capture these interviews, just to you know, just not only capture just different parts of the industry, but just let people know, or just give voice to the people that may not get a chance to really speak that much or
for
speak on
sure.
issues that is going on.
Yeah,
You mentioned that you had a mentor along with. So how important was it for you to have a mentor in your career?
very. Very. And to this day, even having mentors and those that can pour into you, but also that you can pour into.
Hmm.
Rosalind Western and most of my mentors, they're not these big names. They're people back home. Rosalind Weston was the head of communications for the Greenville Spartanburg Airport in Greenville, South Carolina, but also a family friend and neighbor. And Ross took me under her wings and taught me about corporate communications. And still to this day, like, although all of the amazing communications folks I've been able to encounter, she's my go-to. We have these conversations on a daily basis, and we, as much as we can. And just, going back to my core is what's so important. I mean, she was pouring into me in high school. So to now for us to still have and maintain that relationship. Another is Herb Johnson. Herb led diversity for Michelin North America. Again, this is hometown. It's the core. It's not these big names, and I'm grateful. They taught me so much. And now I'm able to have those peer-to-peer conversations. A really dear friend of mine from Clark, Atlanta. We were in the trenches of mass media arts, but Taria Williams, really good college buddy, but we're both in the field of PR. Taria's been at Turner Sports for 12 years now and is an absolute rock star. And to be able to have that village that you can pick up and have those conversations, but support and empower and affirm each other, those are the things that are priceless for me. So mentorship, but also the peer-to-peer relationships are critical.
Yeah, like absolutely agree. Mentorship is super important, and I feel as though you can't never really have enough of them.
Oh,
And I feel as though, like, for me personally, I probably don't tap into them enough as I should. So it's something that I need to challenge myself to do
yeah,
better at and do that more.
yeah.
How has your faith played a part of your career?
It's the core.
Yeah,
It's the core of me, of who I am. That I'm from the South, and
I already know.
right, my faith is the core of the work I do. Is the reason. It's my purpose. It's my refocus. Um, every day,
Hmm.
I make sure I align and the work that I do, and as I embark with people, my faith of personally and professionally,
Hmm.
it's just at the core of who I am and what I do. And my beliefs are in everything that I do. And as always, oh, you don't bring this into the workplace, but it's the core of who I am. And I am who I am today because of the blessings from above, without question. And
Hmm.
so that is what wakes me up every day on those hard days. We've been in a pandemic I started my job in the middle of a pandemic. I and it just, so when you talk about Black women and what we were doing, I started April of 2020. My husband and I got married December of 19. We moved cross country in the middle of a pandemic. Shout out to, I'm sure first year of marriage. We moved cross country. He's amazing and a rock star and so supportive, working from home within this. And then from a place of transparency, we're going through an IVF journey. So all of these things personally and professionally compounded, when as I'm coming in this new role, given 150% because of the work to do and how passionate I am about it,
Hmm.
it goes back to just my faith and my core of fighting through it. And that's where just Black women in this work, we're magicians in some areas,
Yeah.
and it empowers me, it encourages me to continue to do what I'm doing.
And man, we'll definitely be praying for you. And
Thank you.
in your relationship. So I don't like your story is almost identical to me and my wife. So we got married in July of 2020. So in the heart of the
Right.
pandemic. And we was definitely uncertain if we was going to be able to have the wedding, let alone when we was gonna be able to get married or what the restrictions were at the time. So we were just hoping, praying, had a wedding, everything worked out good. No one you got COVID from the event or who told us or informed us, so that was also a
Right.
blessing.
That's awesome.
And then so we got married in July. Come August, we was like, hey, let's look for a house. So we ended up finding a house and been able to move in it in September. So actually, when we're recording this 2 weeks from now, about 2 weeks from now, we'll be in our this will be the first full year we've been in our house. So
Congratulations.
thank
Congratulations. That's
you.
huge. That's awesome. In the middle of a pandemic. Come on now.
I know, like, so just immediate blessings, and
Blessings. Yeah.
I look back on it so much because I mean I think about all the stuff that could have went wrong, you know,
Hello.
and I think about this the amount of blessings that came from the wedding and just the house, and with our first year, because
Yes.
we're a year and 2 months now. If I'm wrong, blame on my math right now, but
Right.
but just the amount of blessings that we had during this time, I'm just been so grateful, just humbled, and just definitely thankful. So, but I'm definitely praying for you and your
Thank
husband
you.
at this time. So, I'm
No, I
probably.
appreciate it. And that's, I mean, you hit the net. I have to sit in moments. My husband and I were at dinner the
Mhm,
other night, and I just had a moment. I was like, we're blessed. In
mhm,
the middle of this pandemic, in the middle of all that's going around, God has blessed us in the midst of it. And we've
mhm.
kept the faith in spite of,
Come on.
all of our families on the East Coast.
Mhm.
It's just us.
Yeah.
So I teased him, I was like, if you get mad, you can't go nowhere. You're stuck in the house with me. But just, we were with some friends and, leaning with each other, is so important in a marriage. And like for him to lean and move all the way, like I don't take those things for granted. He moved twice in the first year
Mhm.
of marriage with me. And that's just God blessing us,
Yeah.
during this time. And I just don't take those things, for granted. And it's at the core of my faith.
Yeah.
God.
Moving is terrible.
What?
Moving is terrible. It's the
Yeah.
I have to. I'm watching one of my friends, one of my best friends, get ready to do it right now, and I'm like, yo, I'm just praying for your strength in advance, my brother.
Let me tell
Because
you something. It is serious. It is serious.
oh my goodness. So let's while we on this tune, so we're going ahead wrap up our first part. So now we're going to go into our transition into our rapid fire segment, which is what we call the game within the game. So my question is,
So
are you
nervous about this, Desmond. Okay, I saw the questions. I was talking to him about my husband last night. I was like, I'm gonna be ready.
you got this. So my
We'll
question
see.
is, are you ready to play?
I'm ready to play.
All right. First question, which I know you already know because you did your research. Chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin?
Chocolate chip.
Okay. There's nothing wrong with chocolate chip cookies.
I
I'm a
mean, I
oh,
like oatmeal raisin, but my husband makes the best cookies. And like I was a little on chocolate chip, but now he's got me on the chocolate chip train. So
I'm about to see if I can get his recipe. I'm curious.
you're an oatmeal raisin person?
I am an oatmeal raisin person. However, like I kind of cheat on oatmeal raisin with chocolate chip. Don't tell oatmeal
Okay.
raisin.
Okay, got it. Oatmeal raisins can be a little dry sometimes, but it's fine. Go ahead.
That's why they gotta be soft and chewy.
Okay, got you. All right.
There's certain requirements to my oatmeal raisin cookie.
Gotcha. All right. Okay.
Uh, TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
Okay. Any particular TV shows you watching right now?
So my husband and I are like, we laugh because we grew up like on TV. You have to sit at your grandma's house and watch TV all day.
Mm-hmm.
The last one we were really into Blackish. We enjoyed that. It was really good. We have been on this Fresh Prince of Bel-Air rerun quick right now that we'll like catch some new episodes and just laugh like we haven't seen them before.
Of course.
On flip on the movie side, we just watched Clickbait. We've been watching some series and some movies. on Netflix and Hulu, which I feel like everyone has been doing during this pandemic. But yeah, I'll say like our last, like we'll try to get our show together that we're going to watch. So
yeah, that's definitely how me and my wife do it. There's one particular show when we sit down and watch TV, we catching up with pretty much all the current shows that we're watching. So whether it be Grownish, Blackish, whatever the case may be. Right now it's Power, and another TV.
My husband's watching Power. I watched like the first couple, but when it started to do these little spinoffs, I let him watch that one on his own. I can't, like, I let him binge those, and yeah,
I understand. And then on top of that, we watched like Chicago Fire. We kind of fell off on Chicago PD, but that's something I may binge and catch up. So I'm also nerd by heart. So I watch all the like the nerd stuff, like whether it be like all the Marvel related stuff, Star Wars related stuff. I watch all that stuff to the side because sometimes she'll watch it, don't get me wrong.
right.
But it's maybe something that she may want to watch at that particular time. And then on top of that, right now we're going through My Wife and Kids right now. So
that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, it's college football season, so I've had to, my Saturdays look a little different now. So I just,
I got you. Who's your top 5 in the NBA? If you can name one. If not, I could definitely take this question out. And
top 5 team or players?
Players.
My top 5 players. I know my husband can hear me, so he's going to judge me on my top 5. So of all time or current?
It could be whatever, or either or. It could be all time. It's your top 5, so it's not like you comparing against other people. It's just your top 5. No one can check you on this.
Current top 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with my team. I'm gonna lead with Dame. I'm gonna lead with Damian.
Solid choice.
Thank you. Now that the Lakers has everyone, and I'm gonna pay homage to my
everybody
Thunder. I'm gonna put Russ in the mix. My husband is gonna butcher me about this top 5, right? Okay. Who am I missing? Let's see. Dame, Russ. Y'all gonna judge me. I'm not gonna put LeBron in my top 5. So
that's okay.
Don't have them come for me.
They won't come for you. I got your back.
Appreciate it. That was only 2. Who else do I need? CJ McCullough.
Okay.
So that's 3. I need 2 more. You got me sweating over here.
No pressure.
Dame, Russ, CJ. Don't I need me like a good center? Let me see.
There's not a whole lot of good
centers. Why?
Okay.
That's 4.
Yep.
This question should not take this long. But I gotta have a good squad. Like I can't just have,
you can't just have anybody. It's your squad.
Anybody, it's my squad.
Right.
I need 1 more. I'm being very strategic with this. I don't want nobody else from the Lakers.
I'm gonna take it home for you. I'm gonna throw out Trae Young.
I'll take Trae Young. There we go.
Okay.
I was going for who am I dude in Dallas?
Luka.
Yes. But we'll take Trae. We'll take Atlanta. I like that. I don't want people to think I had to think too much. I just wanted to be strategic with my team.
I know. I was like, ooh, she really thinking.
People think that, another I would have potentially Zion, because that's hometown too, Spartanburg, South Carolina's own. Okay. So, but I think I did good. You
did good, especially on the spot. The spotlight's on you.
I'm gonna run it by my husband later. He probably gonna have a little judgment, but it's fine.
Probably so. Hey, so we could talk offline about the top 5.
Right. Okay.
Oh man. If you can go if you can go pro in any sport, what would it be?
If I could go pro in any sport, what would it be? Hmm. Maybe MLS.
That's a good choice.
Maybe MLS.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
I love soccer, so I think that's
I'm
a good
just thinking
choice.
where I personally could be athletic and competitive,
Uh,
I mean.
yeah, I mean, look, the way that I asked this question is like, look, if you had all the talents in the world to make it in any sport, athleticism, whatever you need to excel,
That
what
might be
sport?
MLB for me though.
Okay,
Like people sleep on baseball.
people do sleep on baseball.
Baseball does. What right. I see. Yeah. So I mean, if that's is I mean, NBA is my heart, but like, yeah, I would say MLS or MLB.
Good choice. Good choices. All right, favorite pair of shoes.
My favorite pair of shoes. Currently or previously?
Either or.
Um, I'm gonna age myself. I mean, in this current phase, I'm in, a good Croc Birkenstock, phase. Now, my
Okay.
husband don't judge me because like he's the ultimate Jordan's person.
Okay.
But I have like maybe two pairs. So I'm not, I can't say you know, I got all the J's. No,
I
that's not.
I got you. I got you. I got you. Yeah, I don't have all the J's. I know growing up just wasn't in that range to get J's. My mama was like, no, we ain't
Right.
gonna get them. We're gonna get
No.
the shoes over here because you don't know
Right.
how to do
You can
X,
wear the
Y, Z
heat
things.
and get them dirty at school when you
Mm-hmm.
don't have.
Mm-hmm. Like I didn't get my first pair of J's until my friend gifted them to me. So
Right. Look, these kids now a little different.
yeah, they just built different. That's all.
Right.
um okay, so when the close to the last one was done. So if you could be a hype man for any artist, who would it be?
So, fun fact,
Mhm.
exclusive for you. It
Okay.
wouldn't necessarily be a hype man, but I have been asked what would be my dream job if I'm not doing what I'm doing now. And my dream job, which I would quit my job today to do, is to be a background dancer for Beyonce Knowles Carter.
Okay.
Now, mind you, I have no dance experience,
Okay.
but I like her shows, her concerts, her dance. I would be a background dancer. I would go get professionally trained.
Hmm.
Clearly, I thought this out. I go get professionally trained. I would go and audition and I would go on tour and be a background dancer for her. If Janet comes back on tour, then I can go for Janet for a few shows. I can go Rihanna, but I would go be a background dancer.
Okay. I like the choice. Look, my god sister years ago, she did a background dancer set for Beyonce and definitely,
Phenomenal.
yeah, definitely changed her world, changed her life.
Yes.
She I mean, she definitely holds on to the memory and talks about it all the time because that's definitely probably top five moments for her.
Yeah, and let me say this of like, I think Beyonce is amazing, but I have a like, if my next like, I love choreography
Hmm.
because I love theater and dance. And so the choreography and just the energy that's put into that, like that is just fascinating and exciting to me.
Yeah.
Like I know the work, like I watched the documentary. So I'm like, the work that goes into it and the preparation and then the number of shows, like I can imagine it was life changing for her.
Oh yeah, definitely. And just speaking of choreographing and dancing, that's my wife all day because she loves to dance and do TikToks and
I am
uh,
coming to get, we come to Indiana, I'm coming to get training. We're
okay.
going to do a TikTok.
Okay. I'll let her know. Once we get down, I'm gonna call her and say, hey, Ashley is a dope interview. Love her. She true, she hard, thoughtful and everything, but she wants to come to Indiana and get these dance lessons and do these TikTok
Look,
videos. I just
sign
want
me
you,
up.
all right. I got you. No worries. Just consider it done. I got
Done.
you. If here's another question for you. So if you had a chance to take over any organization, who would you choose?
Any organization.
Mm-hmm. It could be Chase Bank for all you care. It could be Dallas Cowboys. It could be, is any range, a spectrum.
Because I've always said I have, and honestly, it was part of kind of me coming to Portland. So we're under the same ownership group as the Seattle Seahawks. And so the opportunity to come to, there's kind of, NFL and NBA and ownership under Vulcan. I would say the Seattle Seahawks or the Atlanta Falcons, because I've always been a fan and follower and admirer of Arthur Blank. And I watched him launch and was blessed to be a part of bringing MLS to Atlanta. And the business side and approach to that, and in a market where from a comms perspective and branding and fan engagement, we weren't sure of like how this was going to fit in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And to see those games completely sold out and the business strategy behind it, mind blowing. So understanding like how these organizations are run and just the foundation behind them, I think it's phenomenal. So I would say those two, and to really get into, potentially NFL space would be not a Target, my husband will probably say probably Target because you spend too much time in there. But
look, I have to tell you offline what my wife says about Target. I ain't gonna put her out there like that.
Don't put her out there. Don't do that.
I won't do that like that. But Ashley, real quick, the hardest question is: how can people follow you, follow your career, keep up with what's going on in your world and your life?
Yeah, they can follow me. I'm on LinkedIn, Ashley Clinkscale, Clinkscale. I am semi-active on Twitter, and it's ACLANKPR on Twitter. And so I'm happy to support and advise in any way that I can. And congratulations, Desmond, on this podcast. Like, this is phenomenal. You're doing great work and you're really giving back to a group that you probably don't even realize the impact you're having on them.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Ooh, okay. You get all emotional. I'm trying to close. All right. For all the for the fans, listeners, and followers and subscribers out there, please continue to do so. Everything, every count. Every like, every retweet, every subscribe. It helps us in tremendous ways that you guys don't even know. But if you need to follow us, go ahead and follow Capture the Game podcast on Twitter. That's CTG_podcast, on Instagram, which is capturing_the_game_pod. On Facebook, it's Capturing the Game podcast, and also on YouTube, it's Capturing the Game podcast. So once again, I just want to remind the audience and listeners that Capture the Game is sponsored by Capture Sports Agency, where the CEO and founder is Chantel Smith-Jones. Ashley, once again, thank you for this interview. Definitely
this has been great. This was a good time.
Definitely. Hopefully we look to have you back on a later day.
Happy to. You just let me know.
Will do.